All right, Big D back with another episode. Before I bring in tonight's guest, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Stretching Sports YouTube page. See all my content. It could be running, walking, football, golf, basketball, MMA. You don't know what to expect. Also, check out the Big D podcast for the audio listeners on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us from the Bay Area, one of my favorite people, America's race walking queen. Robyn, whether she's walking past you on the side of the road or saying hi at the Olympics, the U.S. or World Race Walking Championships, Robyn Stevens is always available.
Well, thank you, Dylan. I try to be always available for you. I make room for you.
Thanks, Robyn. So, usually I'm the hotspot, but I think you might have me. I think you might have me in terms of temperature the night,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't know we were in a competition of how much heat we were in our heat battle, but yeah, it's 105 today. Where I am, and so it's pretty high.
I've got a question. What's the humidity level in your neck of the woods? Because was swampy.
I know what the humidity, because you said it's 94 right now where you are, but your humidity is probably also 94. Let me see what ours is. I'm looking
Did
at.
get a little rain, so it might be 100% humidity.
It
Probably
was
like
gonna rain. Oh, nice. Let's see. Humidity. Apple changed the. Oh, only 33 with a dew point of 62.
no, it's a dry heat. It's more like an Arizona heat, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I like about California, Arizona, New Mexico areas, and like Spain's very similar too. Just dry heat.
I know Seville's like one of the hottest places in Europe, but it's
I've never been to Seville yet. I had a friend that was out there this past summer, or not past summer, like when I was there, when I was in Europe. I had a friend who was in Seville, and I know a lot of my Spanish teammates were here in Seville here and there for training with their Spanish Federation led camps, but I have not been there yet.
so. As you know, the title of this episode is Summer Training Travel. So how has your training and traveling been going? Because you've been to like Spain, you've been to Ireland. I mean, you've been all over the globe.
Well, it seems more like I've been doing more traveling than training, even though the traveling was for the training and competing. I was in Europe for the World Athletics Race Walk Gold Label Tour, and specifically for that, so with I was supposed to be based in Spain, like I was last year. Unfortunately, there was a miscommunication, and so the way my coach wasn't sure, because it's organized by the Spanish Federation, so it's not organized by him. So he wasn't sure what exact dates the Spanish were going to be where, because they kind of move around, depending on what they need. If it's going to be altitude training they need or something like that. And so when I have to book my tickets in February, no later. So at the time when I had reached out to him, he wasn't sure what that schedule is, and the longer I wait, the more expensive things get. And as you know, like, I was impoverished by the sports manipulation last year, and then I live on a credit card, so I have to put everything on a card up front while it's cheap, and then hope that by the end of the year I can pay that training training costs off. So this year I ended up in Poland as my base area, because one of my training partners, she would train with me in Spain. She's from Ecuador, Magali Bonilla, and she is engaged to a Polish man who's not an athlete. Well, he's athletic, but he's not in track and field. So he lives there. So my coach was just like, okay, let's pair up with Magali, and then you'll be out there training with her. And then once we can figure out what we're doing with the Spanish Federation, you can meet up with us. So that was the original plan. I went out there though, but all it started last October. It wasn't really sure what was going on with my body. I started feeling like really like these weird feelings of malaise, to where it's not, when I'm working out, it's like I have the grit, I have the determination, I have the ability, I have the will. Like, my body can do it, but it can't. Like, it was just too tired. And it was like this weird feeling of like, why can't I go? I can't make myself move. And it started around October of last year, September, October. And then it just progressively was getting a little worse. And I thought maybe it was because I was getting used to the humidity in Florida. Maybe I was getting used to the altitude because we had the altitude tent training. I thought, and then when it wasn't that, I thought, okay, I had ended up with a UTI in January that I did not know I had until the end of the January Nationals race. And yeah, cause I thought, oh, I was peeing a lot, but I thought it was because I was well hydrated. And then found out I had a UTI. Never had one of those before, but then had to go almost 2 weeks with no treatment for it because I had to drive across the United States. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'm having issues because I'm sitting a lot and I had the UTI and then I got antibiotics. And then they thought, okay, the antibiotics killed some of the good stuff in your body plus the bad stuff. So that's why you're having issues. And then I went to Poland, and it was just one thing. It was just one thing after another, and I kept thinking, trying to keep positive, like, okay, we'll get around this. It must be the stress of the sports manipulation stuff that I was dealing with my direct USA race walk competitors, or it's the stress with the rape case that I was dealing with. So it's like, we got to figure this out. And but then in Poland, it was super cold. It was snowing all the time, and but anyway, I've had a couple really good workouts and then a lot of bad ones. And just of trying to figure out what's going on with my body. I went to do dents, had to drop out of that race, and still couldn't figure out what was going on. Tested myself for COVID, expecting me to not have COVID because I didn't have any typical COVID symptoms other than now in hindsight, like malaise. There's just extreme feelings of malaise. And I immediately tested negative. So that's when I found out I had COVID. And so I rested for 7 days. I didn't do anything. Met up with Magale at the end of that 7 days, and we started training again. Training was great for 2 weeks going into Warsaw because there was a race. Warsaw, I'm trying to remember how they say it correctly, but in Warsaw. I went to go attend that race, hoping for a good 20K to increase my rank on the world rankings. And I didn't have the energy. Like about 3 days before the race, 3 or 4 days, I started feeling that malaise again, and my body just wouldn't move. And so I forced myself to finish that race. And then I had to leave the Shenzhen area because I miscalculated my visa. And so I needed at least 9 days left for World Budapest. And if I didn't leave the Shenzhen area, I wouldn't have enough time for Budapest. So I left for Ireland. And while I was in Ireland, I went to go do a track workout that's normally not hard for me. And I could barely finish 2 laps. So I couldn't finish the 2 laps. I call my coach, probably in tears. Like, I don't know what's going on with my body, but it is not behaving for months. It's just not like what is going on? And he's like, I think you have long COVID, Robyn. One of the other Spanish athletes had it, Lara, and it took her about 3 to 4 months last year to recover. And so he said, Robyn, I just want you to not compete or train for 3 months. Which is, of course, this is like the whole reason why I'm in Europe is to train and compete, because that's where I get the best training. That's where the best competition is and the best courses are. And so I don't know. And my friends, my international family and teammates. And so everything was already booked. So I had to stay because everything's on my credit card. I can't cancel it. And so, but I can't train or compete anymore. So we talked it over. I just talked it over with my coach, and I am working on, because I'm phasing out of being a professional athlete to my next goal in life, my next career path. And but as I'm phasing out, I want to, I'm happy to, I want to help, like give back to the sport and discipline and fix some of, when I say some, a lot of the problems in our sport and in our sport culture. And, as a means to protect the rising stars coming up. And so I wanted, we don't have enough international certified race walk judges. So I used that opportunity as, when I went to Portugal, where I was supposed to race, that was the hardest, because just standing there as a judge instead of an athlete was just a complete flip of what I'm used to. And so my body's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be out there. But instead I was a shadow judge. And they had told me, they're like, yeah, no one's really ever asked us, but sure, you can shadow judge us. So basically, I'm not an official judge, but I can be out there. I get the whole cards, and I judge the very athletes I compete with that are my friends. And so I'm watching them, and it was very eye-opening too, just to see it from the other side, and at that level, at the best level. And so you turn in your card at the end, and they compare it to the other judges, and they see how you compare to them, so that when I'm ready to get certified and take the test, it just kind of gives a good idea of where I rank with them in quality and readiness to be an official judge. So that was my first time doing an international judging, was in Portugal. And then after that, I was like, well, I might as well just build that resume, since I can't compete now, as a means to protect. My coach is amazing. He's an amazing human being. He's not just an amazing coach. He is first and foremost concerned about our wellness and health. And so for him, it's like, no, I can't give you workouts until we know that you don't have complications from this COVID. So you need to get checked. You need to just take complete recovery, because next year is the important year, the 2024. So yeah, it'll be nice if you can do Budapest. It'll be nice if you can do Pan Am's. But right now, we just need your focus to be on your health. So in Porto was European Championships. I was completely excited to be the only American accepted to compete in the tour part of it. And that way, I mean, every American race walker, at least most of us, would dream to race walk in European Championships. So I was really excited and really wanted to do it. But of course, I get this long COVID or whatever was going on. So I woke up at 5:30 a.m. and I helped shadow judge I don't know if I'm helping, I'm learning. Shadow judging from the 35Ks all the way down to the 10Ks. And so that was a really great experience. And I just love working with the other judges, the international judges. They're just really good people, and deserve a lot of thanks for, it seems ridiculous, because you say, like, okay, the athletes are doing a lot of work out there, and the judges, we forget that they're standing out there and they're not allowed to move. They just have like maybe 200 meters that they can move all day. If it's an all day event, they don't get to really leave. So we race and we get done, and then we can go get, in air conditioned rooms. We can go eat. We can go lay down and take a nap. But no, these judges are out there all day, in the sun or in the cold or in the rain, and they don't get to just leave because they have to be there. So I thought that was just, it's like, I've always respected our international judges and appreciate what they do for us, and to keep the sport fair and with integrity. But just being able to just be in their shoes and work, as I work my way to that level myself, it's while I'm still an active athlete, it's just it's cool. It's an interesting dichotomy. Because normally we retire first before we start doing at the international level of judging, being on the other side. So it's an interesting dichotomy. Like, okay, well, I hope that I love, I enjoy keeping the sport fair and, supporting my international teammate friends, in the sport. At the same time, I can't wait till I'm in the race, so I can also be in the race right now. I'm not done yet. So I did that in Puerto Brady. That was amazing. And just watching my teammate Maria Perez shatter the world record in so she shattered the world record. I got to be there for the whole thing. Her technique was phenomenal, and just get to be there for that, to witness. That was really cool. And then after Puerto Brady was where did we go? I was supposed to go to A Coruña, but the flights were way too expensive. It was the one flight I didn't pre-book in February. So instead, since I was feeling so depressed about not being able to really know where my future's got, because like I had planned to retire after Tokyo, then I got talked into staying, and now I am the only truly qualified U.S. American, if you go by the standard, for the last year and for this year's World Championships, because I'm the only one with the standard in the 35K. But because of the complications of the sport manipulation that happened last year, there's just things that I probably won't be in Budapest this year. So it was almost like, well, why am I still going? Why am I still doing this and pouring my heart and soul into this when I'm not even valued by like my own organization? Like my organization supports me, but my own event group doesn't. So it was kind of like I was going through this let's think about this. What's the best way? Because I love doing what I do. I love the fitness of it. I love the community, the international community of it. I love my other USA teammates in other event groups. They're amazing and super, awesome people. And so I was really just trying to decide. I was kind of depressed because I was like, I don't know if I can stick in this sport because my own event group in my own nation treats me like shit. But I love being around my international teammates and all of my friends and my other USA teammates. And so I don't know. And there's a lot of youth that are coming up and under 20s that are coming up that I'm very supportive of and excited for. So I'd like to see them not have the problems that I've had to face once they're at my level. So I've been doing some thinking, but I was feeling a lot of depression just on what, because I basically lost this season. So I ended up going to Switzerland because that surprisingly was less expensive than going to A Coruña for me not to race. So for A Coruña, it was about $690 round trip from Poznan, Poland to A Coruña. And then the room was going to be $120 per night. And normally they had covered me in the past, but this year, because of my season not really existing, I couldn't get it covered. And so, and then then I would have to have that. So it was just way too expensive for not having an income coming in. But I was trying to find cheaper ways to get there. And there was a flight that goes into Zurich, Switzerland. And I'd always wanted to go to Switzerland. And it was only $130 round, because I looked at it one way, and then it was going to be one, there, and then it was going to take me to England for overnight and then to A Coruña. So then even the travel was going to be 14 to 21 hours just to get to A Coruña for me not to race. So I was like, okay, I want to go at least meet up with my Spanish teammates and my coach and have another opportunity to shadow judge. But it's just way too expensive. I won't be able to pay this off at the end. I don't even know if I can pay off what I have right now for my training here or what I was supposed to do. Because I used what I couldn't do for my normal training, I just utilized that for other things that support my career in athletics. So anyway, so I ended up in Switzerland because it was just I think it was only 130 round trip from Poznan to there. It was only a 4-hour trip. And so it's not going to add any more tear on my body, because we assumed it's long COVID, but there's no way to confirm it. And so I had some blood tests. For a while, my blood was showing that there was some things that I was deficient in, but then the second one showed that I wasn't, that I was now everything looked like I should be healthy. So it didn't make sense that my body is feeling very, very morose and tired. So I thought, I'll go to Switzerland. Maybe I'll run some hills there, even though I'm not supposed to do anything. But there was no way. Once I got there, I was like, I went to go run and I couldn't even handle it. But I ended up there for 3.5 days instead of Alcurnia because I didn't have a place to stay in Poznan because my Airbnb had ran out while there. Because I was supposed to go originally straight to Alcurnia. So this is the stuff that I was trying to figure out. And so I get there, met this amazing woman who was my Airbnb host, and we had some conversations on just ideas that we were doing to support women more, and not just athletics, but just culturally. And so it was a really good conversation and inspiring. And then I had one more day in Poznan because that was where I was flying out of, because it's cheaper to do a round trip ticket, when you book, from the same place. So when you go in and out. So I flew out there and came back here. I've only been in the US for 3 weeks. So I finally, because my coach didn't want me training until I could actually have a doctor see me. And I had already put almost $1,000 into tests there, like when getting lab tests to figure out if my blood could tell us if there was something wrong. And everything said I was fine, other than earlier I was deficient in some vitamins and testosterone and some other stuff, but that was like normal stuff. I just ate some more almonds. And so when I got here 3 weeks ago, I got an EKG, a heart, they took an x-ray of my lungs, checked my heart, everything. They didn't check my head yet, because I still wonder if something happened when I hit myself when I fell in Spain last year and had to go to
Holy
the
crap! That sounds like me. That sounds like me. What happened to me after I crashed on New Year's Day?
Oh, really? On this New Year's? Oh my gosh! Yeah. So did you ever get it looked at? Because I'm wondering if there's
Yeah,
something.
you got it. Yeah, I got an EKG, MRI, X-rays, the whole shebang.
Well, I got all that done for post-COVID thing. So they are checking my lungs and my heart and my oxygen, which my oxygen couldn't be more perfect. She was like, wow. She's like, you're actually incredibly in shape for someone. Because I walked in, I was like, I'm not in the shape that I normally would be. And I have this race in 2 weeks, that I'm forced to have to do, because even though I did all the work anyway, they still are making me do this. And I'm not ready for it, even though I would be ready for Budapest and definitely by Pan Am Games, because that's in October, because that's a full, 3 months is a full training cycle. So once, I had the full approval from the doctor that I can return to training. So they looked at my heart and my lungs. My oxygen was like 100%. So they're like, wow, that's really good. No heart murmur. Everything looked good. So they're like, you can return to training. It does sound like you have long COVID. So just, you will probably have, everybody looks different with long COVID, but everybody's symptoms are different. But you might still have feelings of morose, but you don't have to be afraid to heavy train, because I was getting a little jealous, of some of my other competitors who also got COVID, and some of them long COVID. Like one of the Polish athletes, she had to miss her own nationals because that was in Warsaw, but she's still kicking butt. And then there's another Hungarian athlete who, she's still out there, like pushing it, like, like you can tell, like she's breathing harder than she normally would, but like, oh, at least she can get through the whole thing and still walk decent times. And so I was like, why? Like, what's going on with me? Like, why can't I get this to work? But now I have the authorization that I can train. It's just going to be a little different. So I have to approach it as if I'm coming back from mono. And, but it's going to be interesting because I have to race next week. And the most that I have done in the last 3 months is 40K within the last week, not in one time. Like, I haven't gone past 11K in one workout. So all I'm doing is working out for an hour 4 times a week as of last week. And I had been doing some tonification just to keep some tone, muscle tone. You didn't want me going too heavy, until I got doctor's approval. And that's only like 2 to 3 times a week. So this is like the lowest training I've ever done going into a race that's supposedly important. Like right now, it doesn't really feel that important because no matter what I do, they're not going to select me. So even being the best ranked even like the only one qualified if you go by the standard, because none of the other walkers have the standard. So it's just like, there's so many politics that it's just gotten to where it's not even something I can be even excited about. Like, it doesn't even seem like it means anything. So to me, it's just like, I just have to go here because fortunately I do get support from my community. And so I'm really grateful for the Pacific Association's USA Pacific Foundation, which was founded by George Kleeman, a wonderful man that I personally knew before he passed away. And I'm really grateful for their support the past several. I mean, they've been supporting me since 2016. So they gave me a $2,000 grant, and that's what I'm living on this whole year. And part of it is to under the promise that I will be at Outdoor Nationals. So I want to make sure I go there. I'm hoping I can at least pull off a decent performance, if not a pretty good. But realistically, I don't know what to expect because I have not been able to train under doctor's orders and coach's orders for the last 3 months. So definitely with a full training cycle by Budapest, I could be ready and ready enough. Not to the point where I would be as high as I was last year against my international competitors, but for US standards, back into shape by at least, July, August, or August, not July. Definitely by Pan Am's. But now looking at the way that they've manipulated everything, it's like, okay, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So really, right now, the focus is entirely on 2024 Paris. If my body shows me that it still even wants to do it, because right now this post-COVID, long COVID, is like I have a different body than I'm used to. I'm learning this new one, and we'll see how. I have an amazing coach. He's super supportive. I have amazing teammates. My when I say teammates, I'm talking about my Spanish and Ecuadorian teammates. The people who really show me support, and my other event groups in the USA that are outside of Race Walk in the USA. But like my friend Magale, she's like, you're not, I'm not ready for you to retire. You're not done yet. You're not done. And some of my other friends have been really helpful in keeping my spirits up, because they're like, no, Robyn, like, we know you're not done. You had COVID and you're recovering, but everything now looks like there's only one thing I haven't checked, and it's I don't think I ever got a CAT scan or whatever of my head after I fell on the track last year. And some things did get weird on the track like I had an immediate migraine, and I was throwing up. That's why they took me to the hospital.
You probably knocked yourself cockeyed.
Yeah, I actually saw angels. So when I woke up, I thought I was dead, or not woke up, but I fell. I hit really hard. I still have a scar. I don't know if you can see that. There's these bumps on my hand going this way that are scars, and then the scar here and here from when I fell and slid. And my Spanish teammates were all behind me. And when I say Spanish, I'm including all Team Guadix, because people come from all over the world to train there. So we also had an Argentinian, Juanmo, and we had Julio from Mexico was there, and Ecuador, because we had Johanna and Magdalene, and then obviously all the Spanish, and then I think one Irish walker was there. And so all I know is I was trying to hear their plans for Madrid, because we were getting ready for that 10K. There was going to be their premier event, premier being part of the Gold Label series in the Race Walk Tour. And so I was trying to get them, but they were talking Andalusian, so they're talking really, really fast Spanish. And so I was turning my head, and I just hit this crack in the track and just fell on the cement outside of the track, because we were still warming up for the training that day. And this is 2 weeks after Dudents, when I broke those 3 American records and got the NACAC record for the 35. And so I was in like the really great condition, and then I just fell, and when I opened my eyes, I thought I was in heaven or something, like in the in-between worlds or something, because there was these 3 bright angels. So tell me if you've experienced this when you had your accident in January. where they were just they really did. They would just look like these white light figures, 3 of them. And then they eventually had the voice of my coach and one of my Spanish teammates, Alberto, and the Argentinian Juanmo. But I couldn't see their faces. They just were white beings of light, white beings of light. And that's when I heard they like kind of like picked me up and they wanted me to get walking because they wanted my blood pressure to get back up. And then that's when I started getting my sight back, my vision back. And I started to feel immediate migraine. And then I didn't want to be a nuisance to them. And so they finished their practice, but they had me stay where they could see me. So my coach made sure he saw, and Juanmo's like studying to be a doctor or something. So he said, yeah, you don't want to sit. You just want to walk for 40 minutes. So I just walked in circles in the middle of the track field while everybody else did the workout. But I felt terrible. I thought, like, well, I'm not going to panic myself. I didn't want to panic my family. But this is how I ended up kind of with Carl. Because I called him knowing that he would be up because he's in Florida. So that's 3 hours before. And so he kept me on the phone. And then I got to, Juanmo didn't want me driving. They didn't want me driving smart, because I might have a concussion. So they didn't want me driving. And so they drove my rental to my cave house. Well, at the time I didn't have a roommate because Magali actually had just left to train in Poland. And she was my roommate at the time. So I was there alone. And that's when I started throwing up. I was trying to eat and then I started throwing up and I'm like, I think I'm concussed. Like, I think I have a concussion. And so he had me call my coach and then he took me to the hospital and then they had to take me to the other hospital in Granada. And I don't know because I was in and out of sleep and in and out of whatever. So I don't know what all the tests were. I was just grateful that my coach was there and Maria Perez, and they took such good care of me while I was there. They never left my side and they explained everything. And so, but I don't know if they had the technology that we have here for checking the head. And when I asked my coach about it, he said, well, you hit your face. So I think they didn't check me for up here. And so by the time I got back here, I talked to my longtime doctor of 12 years. And I said, okay, my coach doesn't think I had a concussion, but they had everything checked. And I'm just wondering because something's been different. And maybe I got COVID there. Who knows? But because I didn't have the symptoms and I'm triple vaccinated and all that, and boosted. But she said, well, you're speaking fine. So I'm not worried about it, like brain damage or anything like that. And it would be too late for testing. It's been over a month and a half since the accident. But I'm wondering, I don't know. Like there's like for a while, I'm just like, there's just something different. There's something different ever since that fall.
You might have had post-concussion syndrome.
What's that?
Where like you return, where you come back too early from a concussion.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible I did. That could have been what affected my my NACAC performance in the 20K in the Bahamas and my in September, my the 5K I did. Because I would get headaches. But I think I tested. I know I didn't test for my first time testing for COVID in months because I had been boosted was in Dudens because I had never had any symptoms. I didn't. The only reason why I tested in Dudens is because Magali's boyfriend had a cold, and I was just like, and then I saw one of the Ecuadorians post, and it kind of alluded that she had COVID, so that she found out she had COVID, and so I had tested. But I thought, oh, I just have like a cold or something. But I don't know. I think it's a combination of things. I think I might have come back from a concussion too soon. And I think I ended up getting COVID either in Florida and just didn't know because both Carl and I are very fit people. Other than I was just constantly feeling tired and couldn't figure out why. And that's just been a reoccurring theme until recently. The last 2.5 weeks, even in Poland, I was still doing a strength, like towards the last month I was there, like the last 2 weeks I was there, my coach authorized me to at least do tonification workouts twice a week. So I was doing some very light, like 30-minute tonification, like strength exercises. And I was able to do it, but I usually can do 3 circuits and I could only do 2. And then by the time I'd get to I had to do these like where you do push-ups and then you go to your side, to a side plank and then a push-up and then a side plank. I couldn't get through those at all. I could get through 5, and that's not like me. But now, as of 2 weeks ago, I'm able to do 3 sets of the tonification. I can get through all 15 on each side for all 3 sets for that exercise. So it's like, okay, I'm starting to feel like myself again. And since I finally got the authorization from the medical doctor saying I can train and it won't likely cause any further damage, or anything that we can explain, that doesn't look like it's going to be serious. I ran to this tower that I used to run all the time as just growing up when I was primarily a runner who race walked. And so this is like maybe 3 days ago, I decided I'm going to just run up to it and then I'm going to finish off the hour with race walking. And so I ran up to it. It's like a 2 mile ups, 2.5K or something up. And then I came back down and I race walked and I actually made it. It was not as fast as I would go in high school. But it was like I made it, where before I would start and it's like, what is going on? I'm like breathing like really hard. My heart rate is way higher than it normally is. And it's still elevated. I read an interview by Sarah Hall, where one of her most recent races, she was just happy that her heart rate was finally low, her morning heart rate, because she was coming off of long COVID. And but I thought that I thought that was interesting because I'm like, okay, I guess that explains a lot, because my resting heart rate in the morning has been 10 beats higher than normal all year. And like just really simple, easy paces for me, my heart rate's way up. But I finally got 2 weeks ago, I got clearance. I'm allowed to train full throttle, elite level race walking again, or running, whatever I want. They said I should be okay. Just that I gotta work with feeling malaise,
So hope and pray for Eugene next week.
Yeah, so I basically explained this to one of my high school friends I met up with. I hadn't seen him in years. And he's like, I'd love to come support you. I've always wanted to see you race after high school. And I'm like, you're not going to be seeing me race. Like, you're gonna, like, I'm there, but it's going to be pure hell, because my coach doesn't even want me racing. He's like, yeah, you're not ready. Like, we are focused on next year. We're doing a full build so that you can have a very awesome next year, because next year is the important year. So this is more going to be just me listening to my body and see what it does. But it's more like like, obviously I'm racing, but it's not like I'm going into that race like I normally would. It's not in the same mind. I have totally different goals. My goal is, in the past, actually, is pretty similar. Before Tokyo, I only cared about Olympic year. I didn't care about Worlds. I didn't care about any of that. I only cared about Worlds last year because it was in our home country. But with all that drama with my own event group, I really just like, yeah, I guess it doesn't, Worlds doesn't really matter. It doesn't really have a lot of meaning. But they kind of took that away. But so now it's just, I want to have as best performance as I can. But realistically, I have to go with what my body's ready for too. And it's not the same body and fitness that I'm accustomed to, because it hasn't been allowed to have it for all year.
So potentially you may or may not race next week, but the big goal and the end goal is Petty, because I can't think of a better place than a racing career than Paris, right?
Yeah, it would be amazing. It'd also be amazing. Yeah, that's why I'm really hoping that they at least have some integrity, my federation, and it's on the shoulders of my event group, the chair of my event group in Race Walk, that they actually come to their senses and see that I am the only one that's actually qualified for Pan Am Games in the 35K, and that they send me, because I can be in shape for that one within 3 months. And that is where I started my career. So my first junior worlds was in Santiago, Chile, and Pan Am Games is in Santiago, Chile this year. And I thought, okay, I could do that because next year they're not going to have a real 35K. And then next year, you know, the Olympic event for women, and always has been, is the 20K race walk for women race walkers. So so all of the focus is on just really maximizing my health and getting my fitness back. Now my health is where it's supposed to be. We don't know, post long COVID is different for everyone. But looking at my other competitor friends who've had it, there is hope. You know, we have been able to bounce back. It's just we bounce back at different levels. So I have a great coach too, and he knows what he's doing, and his values are in the right place, because his value is on the person first, on our health and our wellness first, and then our what we do. So Paris would be awesome. I know that's where a couple of my other international teammates would like to have as their last race in their career. Paris is also the first country I had ever gone to out of the U.S. when I was 14, and is the place that it was there. And I went to France and Italy with my history class when I was 14. It was my first time out of the U.S. and other than Canada. And other than Mexico. I mean, that's like, we're all like the same here. In California, Mexico and Canada is basically the same country.
First time out of North America.
What?
First time out of North America.
Yeah, my first time out of North America was when I was 14, and I went to Paris first in France. And then we finished our trip in Italy. And I think our last place was Florence, but it could have been Vienna. I don't know. Or Versailles. I don't remember, but I was little. But when I came home from that trip, I was homesick for a month. Like, that felt like Europe felt like home to me, like immediately. Even as 14, I went for a walk and I saw this artist, and I called him the guy in the pink polo shirt. And I found that photo recently, like last year. I've been so busy my whole adult life that my first chance at unpacking my childhood bedroom was this past summer. Yeah. Yeah. So there'll be some throwback videos from my youth and my childhood that might come up, that my coach might post just for fun, my youth coach. But that I found for my dad for Father's Day. I had transferred them.
You might have to create. I can help you create the YouTube shorts.
You know what? I'll work with you. We'll talk more about that. Yeah, because there's a lot of content, and there's some funny stuff, and there's some pretty incredible races too. But yeah, I hadn't. Some of my high school friends have like been teasing me about that. Like, you must be busy, Robyn, when you're now 40, and the first time, well, I was 39 still. First time you've unpacked your childhood bedroom when you're 39 years old. So. Because I left the house when I was 18 on a full ride. So I don't know. We'll see. So Paris, like, that was my first country I saw out of leaving North America, and made me realize how much I love Europe. And so I feel like I'm like part American, part European at heart, because I still get homesick every time I have to leave Europe. And I still get excited to go home to go see Europe whenever I'm there training with my teammates there. And I still visualize, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like a connection. Maybe it's just all of my ancestry, like, because I'm a mutt. My ancestors love traveling, apparently, and that's why I love traveling. But like, that means I have a lot of different country, like, ancestors from different countries from Europe, and so maybe that's why it's like the roots where I feel home there. So Paris would be a really great place to plus it's the place of love, right? Like, that's their whole theme. And so I love that, like, my Olympics started. I mean, if my only Olympics is Tokyo, that is perfection, because that was all I had planned on anyway. And Tokyo was amazing. I couldn't have thought of a more perfect Olympic experience for me. It was all I've ever and more imagined. Because, that was my goal, was just to get there and to cross that finish line. And it was a great experience. And I got to do it with an amazing coach at my side, and amazing Spanish teammates at my side, and, just amazing, our US staff there was just incredible. Our support. It was a great experience. And I love, like, Japan. And so like to start there and then to close it off, because my childhood bedroom actually used to have Japanese characters and cherry blossoms, and also the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And it was not because I knew, because we didn't even know these Olympics were going to be, awarded to at that time when I was a child. But I just liked the feng shui and like the whole like like the Japanese gardens and stuff. Like I just loved how peaceful that is, and so I would have my room with some elements of that stuff. But then I also loved love. I was a typical little girl. Like I loved love, and I would collect even when I was a youth athlete. When I would travel and I met other countries, other athletes from other countries, I'd ask them how to say I love you. Like some of the people thought I was hitting on them indirectly, but I wasn't. Like I really wanted to know how to say I love you in every single language, because I thought that would be the most romantic thing, that when I fell in love, I could tell them I love you in all the different languages, because that's how much I love them. So I would just learn different languages then. And long-winded story. It's like, it would be kind of serendipitous and poetic if I did get to just end the career after all of this that I've gone through since Tokyo and before Tokyo. I mean, some of the people who were covering my story during the, after Olympic trials in Tokyo, I was like, they don't even know half of it. They're only covering like a quarter of it, because they're only aware of a quarter of it. And it's like, it would be kind of serendipitous, like where and poetic that it ends in Paris, because my whole childhood was there. My bedroom, my college dormitory, it had a big poster of like the Eiffel Tower and just elements of Paris, specifically Paris. And one of my favorite movies was French Kiss. So, Meg Ryan.
Well, one of us is running a 5K on the 4th of July. Can you
I
get
know, and you're doing it in the heat.
Well, it's not going to be. I looked at the temperature. I think it's going to be in the 60s next week in Illinois.
Yeah, it's hot there in the summer. I mean,
it's not Florida hot.
Yeah, it's gonna feel very nice for you.
Yeah,
because it'll feel way.
And the funny thing is, all the people like from Decatur, Springfield, Illinois, and then I'm from the state of Florida. They're going to be thinking, what? What? Everybody moves from Illinois to Florida, not the other way around.
So, are you excited? Do you feel ready? Like,
I'm a little nervous. I mean,
you're ready. You're ready. We've been talking about this for a few months.
But the only thing that I've never done before I've done like 33, 34, 5Ks. I've never traveled the day before a race. So
hydrate. Just make sure you hydrate. Make sure you sleep. So 2 nights before. So the night before you leave, try to get a good quality sleep, like 8 to 10 hours if you can. And then as soon as you drink water on the plane, like buy a bottle after you get through security. Buy a bottle of water, a full one that you can just drink on the plane. And then when you get to the hotel, just drink electrolytes and water. And sleep.
I be honest with you, I can't sleep the night before any race. So
that's why it's important the 2 nights before. The 2 nights before is the most important to get a good sleep.
I was actually thinking of drinking. I can put like an electrolyte in a bottle of water and drink that before we leave Florida that Monday morning. Drink like an electrolyte with water with an electrolyte in it.
Yeah, do that, but that won't be enough. Just one of those is not enough. You should try to get at least 64 ounces.
So, I'm gonna drink enough where the bathroom at the Charlotte County Airport in Punta Gorda could see a lot of me that day.
That's good. That's good. That's how you take care of yourself.
Yeah, and one other problem, you know how big these puppies are?
The what are?
You know how big my legs are? I've got size 13 shoes.
Yeah, you can cover more ground.
No, I mean on the airplane itself, because on the airline we're traveling doesn't have any leg room. Doesn't have any leg room.
How long is your flight?
couple hours.
Okay, so that's not bad. It's a couple hours. As soon as they turn off the seatbelt sign, get up, do some stretches, go pee, and you should be okay.
Yeah, last year when we went, the fella sitting across from me and I will like scrunch bees because we were both in we both put our foot in the aisle because he was like 6'4", 6'5", and I'm like 6'3".
Wow, you're that tall? You're always
Yes.
skinny, so I didn't realize you're that tall. Wow.
Size 13.
Yeah, but there's shorties with that size, like, right? Yeah, I don't know. But
I mean, look at my head. My head's big. My head's bigger than a.
my head looks bigger than yours right now because of the camera. How close my.
I don't know where you.
So you know what? So I'm just gonna tell everybody I am 6'1". See how big my head is? I'm 6'1".
No, really. What's your shoe size?
I actually have big feet for my size. I wear size 7.5. So in European size 39, but in US 7.5.
I don't know what my shoe size would be in
Sometimes
the.
8, depending. My running shoes are size 8 to give me room for my toes.
All right.
So what are you wearing? What shoes?
I think I've got some New Balance ones. I've got some blue New Balance shoes.
Great. Are you
Yeah,
going?
I've only run in New Balance shoes. I'm not into like the run racing New Balance shoes. I'm not into the Nike where like everybody who runs fast runs those Nike wears those Nike
Yeah,
cleats.
I don't buy into that either. I actually Nikes have always injured me. I've not ever been a fan of Nike shoes. They've always caused me problems.
I mean, yeah, they might be fast. It seems like everybody who wears Nike shoes runs fast. Like
Well, but other brands have the same shoes, so that are better. Like we have Asics makes probably a better one than Nike, and then you have like Homa just jumped on board. You have like I think Kipren has one now, and Adidas
Puma,
and
Puma.
Puma and Brooks and like everybody has it now. It's not just. I just don't like how the Nikes fit. The Nike shoes are a little too narrow in the front for me. And
Well,
so
yeah, they're made. Well, yeah, they're not made in. Well, yeah, the shoes are made in China or somewhere else where they're cheap plastic.
I don't know what it is. Well, I hope you have fun. I'll be checking in with you and following up.
By the way, I do have one more question. Do you know what this guy is?
Does that go on a bike?
No, it's a GoPro camera.
Oh, GoPro. Sorry, I can't tell because it's dark on the right, so I couldn't tell if that was a camera lens or a. I can just see the square thing, the digital square thing. Oh, now I see it. Yeah. So you're gonna wear a GoPro while you run?
I was wondering. I'm considering whether or not to bring it. Should I wear the GoPro when I run on Tuesday?
I mean, it depends what your goal is for the run. I don't like to wear a lot of stuff while I'm running or racing because I want to have as fast of a time as possible, right? But like when I'm just having fun, for example, I'm doing Wharf to Wharf on July 23rd, and that's just a fun race for me. Yeah, I try to run it as fast as I can and beat my time from the year prior, but it's just a fun race. So if one of my teammates were to say, wear a GoPro or carry your phone and take selfie, like I might do that because it's just a fun race. You are a podcaster, like that's what you do. So why wouldn't you, if it doesn't bother you, have you trained with it? Like if you're not going for like a specific time, you're going for that experience and just to run it and you want to document it, then yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've never won a July race. I usually run from like October through March, where it's not.
Have you worn the GoPro during those races?
I've I didn't bring the GoPro when I ran when I went to Illinois last year. I have run not races, but a couple practice sims with the GoPro. I can.
If it doesn't bother you, I would say, sure, why not? It'd be fun to see what you see. with the perspective of the GoPro.
Yeah.
I don't personally would wear it, but I have a different intention, you know.
Well, yeah, you want to be aerodynamic.
Yeah.
All right, Robin. Thanks for hopping on. Hopefully, you'll be quicker and better than ever, and we'll see you
Yeah.
kicking some serious booty later.
Yeah. Thank you.